Welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We've got Hulk and Coach bringing you the beginning of a football offseason.
We're
This is the
back.
it's pain, it's
The hi
suffering.
the hiatus is over. We're back. We've taken our lumps. We got through the fantasy season. Hopefully we helped you guys win some championships.
We know that everybody around here won some championships. That's
We did.
basically what we do.
We
We got
did.
some trophies coming. Austin, unfortunately, is feeling a little bit sick. It's part of being a dad, I guess. You get the kid sick, then you get yourself sick, and then
Yep. True
that's
story.
life.
I've never
So,
got sick more than when I have since I had children. Not let me preface that. Since my oldest started school. When
oh,
she started going to school, and because my wife is a gymnastics coach, so she's constantly around kids. I stay sick constantly. It's the worst. But hey, get better, Austin. We'll get you on next week. We'll let you get your JJ McCarthy, your insights in there for, go blue, Michigan. So jumping in it, mock draft 1.0 for us,
ooh,
pre-combine.
ooh.
Now this is
Free agency too. This
free
is it's a
agency,
big deal.
combine. Yeah,
There's a lot of changes that are going to happen throughout the
so
off
many
season.
changes.
We're going to be open to that. Right now, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to put ourselves in the not the GM headspace of if like what is the Bears going to do, but what would I do if I was the Bears right now? Like, what do I
Mhm.
think the best move is for them moving forward? We're going to get more into what we think they're going to do the closer we get to the draft. But for right now, it's kind of our opinion on
This
what the
one's the most fun too because you can never be wrong. Because it's like, look, I said this is what I was gonna do for them. Like,
yeah,
no way did I
exactly.
really predict this. So yeah, so ready to dive into this draft off season.
Well, let's get it started right away. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Look for us on Twitter, all of that fun stuff. But the Bears are on the clock, and they've been on the clock for a long time. Thank you, Carolina Panthers. Way to go.
It's a great
Applause.
trade for them.
Yeah,
A
for
great
real.
trade.
For real. So Caleb Williams going to the Bears. I'm pretty sure that everyone's expecting that, and that's what I expect as well. I think that they're going to end up trading uh, Justin Fields to somebody for like a second or even a third round
Now,
pick.
put your GM hat on though. What would you do?
I would
Like,
I would sign
I
Caleb
understand.
Williams. I think that he is not the greatest prospect we've ever seen. And we've seen players like Trevor Lawrence come out that were supposed to be just so game-changing and haven't been so far. But the Bears do have a solid roster already. They also have another first-round pick at 9. So I think that being able to add Caleb Williams now, having DJ Moore, having decent running backs, like there's opportunity for that player to be able to grow. They also get 5 more years of a rookie on a rookie deal.
That's what it is. You're restarting the clock. And now I do want to say though, after watching more tape on these top quarterbacks, there's not that much of a gap between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels slash Drake May for me.
Yeah.
Like not as wide as I expected going into watching these guys, but his ceiling is that much greater because he's the closest play style wise we've seen to Pat Mahomes, and that's what people are salivating over. So Caleb Williams makes absolute sense at number one. Number
Ne-
two, I'm gonna pick for the evens on this one. I got the Washington Commanders. I'm gonna go ahead and just pull the trigger. I'm taking Jaden Daniels.
Which honestly, I think that they have the hardest decision in the draft because you have two different types of quarterbacks. You have the safer pocket passer, unbelievable arm, and then you have the dual threat that was the Heisman winner. I mean, the guy's been amazing, but where he played had a lot to do with it. There's going to be two receivers coming out of this draft in the first round that he was playing with last year. That's not the same for Drake May.
Yeah, that very valid, very true. And my thing with Drake May too is like in the moments where you needed him to step up or be clutch, he necessarily wasn't. Like there is a lot of Josh Allen in his game of he just trusts his arm and his athleticism a little too much, which that's fine. You can temper that down and you can develop him a little bit, settle him down, but for me the way just starting out today, give me Jaden Daniels. I'm selling tickets with that guy. He's going to be exciting. He's going to be able to help the offense move. That's where I'm going. So you're on the clock with the Patriots at 3.
I think a lot of people are talking about the Patriots trading for Justin Fields and then getting Marvin Harrison here. And my one knock against that is that Justin Fields just had better than Marvin Harrison last year. He had DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a top 5 talent in the wide receiver position. He is a phenomenal player.
He's no scrub.
Already.
No
He's
scrub.
gotten paid. He's a top 3 paid wide receiver. So I don't think that that's the move that really helps them. And I think that Drake May is an extremely safe pick. It's just like we were saying before, it resets the clock. They now get 5 years to be able to see what does this guy look like, and we can build around him as time goes on instead of trying to do everything right now this year.
Well, think about it too. AFC East, aside from Miami, it's all Northeast teams. And with that, you're looking at later in the season, those bigger body guys like Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, those guys that can withstand the cold, like you're looking at that as well. So for me, would not shock me at all if the Patriots just took the best quarterback available at 3 that fell to them. They've in Gerard Mayo's opening press conference, he pretty much said as much. We're going to look for the best player at the most important position.
Yep.
That's
That's what you got to do.
Next pick, Arizona Cardinals. This is the easiest pick. This pick is easier than Caleb Williams going number 1 to me. This one is sprinting to the podium because you know exactly what's going down. Marvin Harrison Jr. going to Arizona.
Best player in the draft. Enough said.
He's so good.
So, I mean, he's 6'4". He's got the speed.
I also feel super old, though, because there are at least 6 or 7 guys in this draft that we watched their fathers play. Like, use them so many times on Madden, and all these juniors are coming into the league.
Next year is going to be even worse. You've got Anquan Bolden, Antonio Gates. You got a lot of kids. I think Anquan Bolden's kid actually might be playing basketball, but still, there's a lot of kids.
Jerry Rice's kid is out there. Frank Gore Jr. is in this draft this year. Like, I'm telling you, bro, I feel so old. But hey, here we are.
Now, at 5, Chargers have a bit of a decision here. I've seen a lot of people saying that Malik Neighbors to the Chargers at 5 makes a lot of sense. And that really just has a lot of disrespect to their wide receiver core. They have solid guys. They don't have a real true number 1 outside of Keenan Allen. But Malik Neighbors isn't necessarily going to step into that role. I don't see... He could potentially be Zay Flowers, right? That could be who he is. But he's not necessarily Jamar Chase right now. Maybe, but I think that it's a bit early. I think that for them, their offensive tackle on the right side especially was such a disappointment. They have a very young, very expensive line. So being able to go with a guy like Joe Alt from Notre Dame, I think is the safe pick. And we know that Harbaugh is going to want to build up those trenches in his first 3 years to be able to have the offensive and defensive line to go out and win Super Bowls.
Not mad at it. Joe Alt's going to be an absolute beast, and he one of the best offensive tackles, if not the best in the draft. So you can't be mad at it. Plus, the Giants are happy because at number 6, that means they get Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze falling to them. Yep. And for me, I'm taking Rome Odunze if I'm the Giants, because with Malik Neighbors, I love his play style and I love what he gives you. But I've already kind of got that in Wan'Dale Robinson. Agreed. And also Jalen Hyatt, who I just drafted last year, Wan'Dale the year before. So, okay, we've got our speed guys. We've got our guys that can take off the top. Let me get my bigger body possession guy in here. So, Rome Odunze to the Giants at 6.
So, Titans have a definite decision. I think that a lot of people have Brock Bowers going there. Brock Bowers is calling that's where he thinks he's going to go early in the first because it's a team that already has their quarterback. Their offensive line needs some help, but in a lot of ways they're in a total rebuild. So I feel like getting the best player available is easily the decision for them. And I think that Malik Neighbors is going to transition to the NFL better than Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is still 6'4, 220, 230. But Malik Neighbors' speed and his agility, his point of possession, all the things that you need from a receiver are going to be there. I think that this is the type of pick that is special for the Titans. They got the big arm guy in Will Levis. I think that that's what you want is someone to take the top off.
And people got to realize too, like Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, like those guys and their production last year as rookies, those are anomalies.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, Brock Bowers could very well come in and give you that kind of production, but I do agree with you. As far as playmakers and guys we need on the outside, bring in Malik Neighbors to learn under DeAndre Hopkins for a season. Like, and you're still waiting on Trey Burks to, or Traylon Burks to show you what he's got on the outside. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like Neighbors there as well.
Before you pick, I just want to point out that we've seen a lot of mocks, and I legitimately think that we're going to see 3 quarterbacks and 3 wide receivers go in the first 7 picks. I don't know if that's ever happened in an NFL draft. Like, wide receivers don't generally get picked this high unless they're elite talents. I think it has a
Well,
lot to say with the rest of the draft class.
yep, that's what I was about to say. Like the running back class, I don't think there's going to be a running back go in the first round, and I wouldn't be shocked to see the run on running backs not happen until late second round. It's going to
Yeah.
be a matter of one team deciding who they like because for me, there's not that much drop off between the running backs. It's more of just pick your flavor. So I agree, and that goes for a few other positions in this draft as well. Offensive tackles very deep, and wide receiver is very deep. Quarterback is decently deep, but I mean, you've got those positions to where it's going to push these guys up because you find value in the later rounds. So, yeah, I agree there. As far as we're gonna have 3 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks go very early. Falcons at number 8. I'm going to put on the assumption at this point of the Falcons have Justin Fields on their roster. And Justin Fields, Georgia boy, went to Georgia before he transferred to Ohio State. I want to say he was Georgia player of the year over Trevor Lawrence coming out, if I'm not mistaken. So just bring him back to Atlanta, let him do it. So with that being the case, I'm taking Jared Verse over Dallas Turner going to the Falcons because my whole thing with that is Jared Verse last year, scouts were talking about if he would have came out, he would have been a first round talent just simply because he is an athletic freak. Like the production, you still leave a little wanting there, but for me, it's just get him in there and hopefully you have, an Anthony Barr, Aiden Hutchinson type guy that's just a freak off the edge.
Yeah. The speed, that type of, you know, it's that type of player that is an easy pick for a team. They know that he's going to have production because athletically, I think whenever we see the combine, he might end up sneaking into our top 7. Some of these teams might say, I need this guy. I need the next guy that's going to become a total monster on the edge. But without the combine, it's kind of hard. Now, Chicago, they have their quarterback, right? They picked first, and now they get to pick again. They already have DJ Moore. And if there was a guy like Malik Neighbors left, I think that you take him. But with him being gone, I think that they're also going to have to look defensive line or corner, look for another position of need. Whenever we look at the wide receivers that are still available, with like Brian Thompson, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, these guys they're great, but there's a definite fall off. And being this early in the draft, I think that you have to think about the team needs. So I think that we're going with. Let me pull up the defensive ends. I think we're going to go Dallas Turner here. I think
Yeah,
that.
and I'm not mad at that. Like with the Bears, they've honestly got a few spots they need to fill. Going corner would have been fine. I do agree. the one of the either Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors. They were kind of hoping for one of them to fall, but if not, get Dallas Turner, solid as hell edge rusher coming off the end for you. SEC pedigree, played at Bama, got dominated by Nick Saban for 3 or 4 years there. So go ahead and yeah, you can't be mad at that. Like as Bears fans coming out of that first day, you end up with Caleb Williams and Dallas Turner. You're not mad. Like you're excited. You're calling for the Packers' throats.
It could be very similar to what happened with Houston last year, where they were able to get two pieces on opposite sides of the ball that came in right away and had massive production. I think that's what they're going to be looking to try to do.
The Jets. The Jets are one of the easier picks. Now, Brock Bowers still being here is enticing just for the whole factor of the Jets just going all in on this next season or two with Aaron Rodgers hopefully staying healthy for him. I think they're going to bring in Devontae Adams in the offseason, so I don't know exactly if they're going to be looking at a pass catcher even if he does fall here. That offensive line needs a ton of work. So I'm going Olu Fashanu here. And for me, it's just a matter of whichever offensive tackle that is on the board at that time that they feel fits their scheme the best. That's who they're going with.
Now, Minnesota, we haven't seen a team except for the Giants and the Chargers that have had this many needs this early in the draft. And whenever you have a bunch of needs at a bunch of positions, it's not really smart to just take the guy like a quarterback that's you're reaching for like JJ or something of that nature. I think that McConnell is definitely going to want to get his guy, but I think that he's the type of coordinator that if he can get a second or third day guy and develop them for a couple of years, that'll do more for them. I see them re-signing Kirk or bringing in a veteran guy as a stopgap for the next couple of years. I don't see them necessarily taking a quarterback right away. I don't think that it's an important thing for them. So I think that whenever you look at best player available, Brock Bowers jumps off the board, but I think that with Addison and JJ, they have a
And with
lot of production.
Hawkinson,
And
like,
Hawkinson.
yeah, like, so, yeah, I don't see Brock Bowers going there.
So the one we're going to go with is actually Cooper DeJean. I know that he's more of a versatile. They have him rated as a cornerback here, but I think that he's an athlete.
That is low key, like, big brain pick there because you got to think who drafted Minka Fitzpatrick into the league and who is the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings.
Exactly.
Like, Cooper
Brian
DeJean
Flores, we don't say his name often.
Fitzpatrick again because of his hybrid style of he can play slot corner, he can play in the box safety, he can play strong safety for you, free safety. Like he's a chess piece. So like I love that pick taking Cooper DeJean there. Go ahead. I hope he plays corner because I just want a white boy at corner. It hasn't happened since Jason Sehorn in the early 2000s, and I feel like it's just time. It is time.
We need one for the homies.
Even if just week 1 you make him your starting cornerback 2, and then you don't actually play him there the whole game, that's fine. But I need him listed as a starting corner. If Brian Flores does anything for me after what you did to my team for 2 years, I'm not going to say that. I actually like Brian Flores as a person, so we're going to retract all of that. But all right, Cooper DeJean, great pick. So with everything you just said about not taking a quarterback and not pulling the trigger and not, reaching on one, I'm going completely against that. I think Sean Payton is absolutely going quarterback. And if JJ McCarthy falls to him here at 12 before the Raiders, I think he pulls the trigger on him.
He has to at that point. He knows he's not going to keep McCarthy. Now, the only reason I would see him not with Bo Nix and Michael Penix end up really showing out in their pro days and like they could show JJ's got the championship. He also had the best roster. They've got 18 guys from Michigan that are going to be showing up to the combine today or this year. So I like the pick, and like you said, you have to get it in before the Raiders. The Raiders are looking quarterback super hard. They don't have one right now.
No. And so that, yeah, exactly. because if you don't take McCarthy there, he's absolutely going to the Raiders in the next pick.
Now, Raiders, they've put themselves into a bit of a bind because with signing Pretty Boy Garoppolo and then like benching him and him getting hurt and all the BS that's going on, and now he's suspended for 2 games and then they cut him. They don't have a lot of options. Now they could get a Ryan Tannehill or a Jacoby Brissett in the offseason and have a veteran guy come in and try to Ryan Fitzpatrick a little bit. I think that they still do that, but I think that them taking Bo Nix is an easy decision. They're going to get a dual threat guy that is coming from a big enough school. He's got a pro ready system that he's been developed in. He'll have the opportunity to grow if they bring in a guy like Jacoby Brissett to be able to start the first 8 games. Then they can bring him in the second half of the season and see what they have with him, similar to the way they did Will Levis last year.
Not mad at that at all. So Bo Nix going to the Sphere. They should move the stadium inside the Sphere.
Dude,
That would be amazing.
Yeah, during the Super Bowl when they were doing the.
Could you imagine during COVID, like if they put the field in the Sphere, and you could actually simulate a crowd, like an actual crowd?
Wow, there you go, big brain.
That would be God, we were 2 years too late on that. All right. So the New Orleans Saints coming up on the clock. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on a quarterback here. Now, again, what we would do here, I wouldn't pull the trigger on a quarterback. With Michael Penix being the only first-round possible quarterback left on the board, his injury history just scares the absolute hell out of me. Like 2 shoulder injuries, 2 ACL injuries. Like I know what he did last year in college. That's awesome. I just can't trust it, and he's already 24 years old. I still got Derek Carr under contract for 2 years. Not pulling the trigger there. So for me, I think I'm going to take Talis Fuaga, offensive tackle, Oregon State.
Okay.
Just sure up that offensive line, give Derek Carr a little bit more protection. See what happens. Like, it's not a sexy pick, but Ryan Ramczyk wasn't necessarily a sexy pick, and dude went on to be an all-pro offensive tackle. Teron Armstead wasn't necessarily a sexy pick, and look what he gave him. So
exactly.
Talis Fuaga.
I think that we might be seeing Michael Pittman leave in free agency. I think that the production that they got out of him was great, but they legitimately had to target him 14 times a game for him to be able to produce at that level. And they have
it was awesome. He was one of my favorite players to bet on player props last year. He was good for 8 receptions and 60 yards every single game.
Especially whenever they had Gardner in there.
Yes.
But they're not going to have Gardner in there this year. They're going to have AR-15 back. And I think that that's a big change for them. I think that if they want to replace Michael Pittman, that Brian Thomas Jr. is a phenomenal choice. He's coming from LSU, pro-ready system. He's going to have the pieces. It's a bit of a reach to take him at 15. They've got him ranked at average draft position about 24 right now. I still think that he's enough of a game changer. Whenever we see his combine and we see his speed and his athleticism, his shuttle, 6'4" though, is massive. And if he could be Michael Pittman, but fast enough to play in the NFL.
Even if they bring Pittman back, I love matching Brian Thomas up with Pittman. Because
and then getting
Brian
Josh
Thomas,
Downs in the slot at that point.
Yeah, because Brian Thomas is what you were kind of hoping Alec Pierce would become.
Yeah.
Like, he's already there to me. So, yeah, I would take him regardless there. I could see them going DB, and the fact that we haven't taken a DB other than Cooper DeJean yet, I'm kind of upset with us. But, hey, we're doing it. So, Seattle on the clock. They need interior offensive line and edge. I don't see this as a spot for Jackson Powers Johnson. Now, Pacific Northwest, him coming from Oregon, Seattle being right over in that area, maybe. keep him close to home. That'd be cool. But for me, I'm going. I hope I pronounced his first name right. Latu
He's
from
definitely
UCLA.
definitely
Edge
the
from
best edge
UCLA.
still on the board, like easily.
He gives me a lot of Jalen Phillips vibes, who also was at UCLA before he transferred to Miami. Like, uh, I love Latu. Like, I think he's a beast. He's an uber athlete, and Seattle needs pass rush help. They need to get that defense back to what it was around the time of the Legion of Boom, and they've been drafting the DBs to do it. Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen, they're two young corners. They're set for at least the next 3 years with those guys.
Now, if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I am crossing my fingers and then cheering loudly whenever I see Seattle shore up their edge because I want Jackson Powers Johnson. I want someone that they can play guard, they can play center, they're versatile, they're the perfect size, everything to be able to shore up that interior. I think that that's the type of pick that helps their offensive line move leaps and bounds forward. They have some solid talent at the tackle position, but their interior is so weak. And we saw Trevor Lawrence last year. He's got the receivers. I'm surprised that I see so many people saying that they need a bigger body and they need all these things. They've got Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Zay Flowers with Evan Ingram. I
For
mean,
all intents and purposes, is a bigger body slot receiver. Like,
exactly.
that's how he gets used.
So I think that getting the best interior offensive lineman in the draft at 17 is huge for them.
Yeah, I agree. As a Dolphins fan, it'll hurt me because that's who I want the most in this draft, just to give us a chess piece in the middle of the offensive line, but we'll get to that later. Bengals pick number 18. The slide stops here for Mr. Brock Bowers. We're going to
Yes.
go ahead and give Joe Burrow the tight end that he has not had since he's been there. T. Higgins is probably on his way out, but I don't
think
know
so.
if they're going to pull the trigger on a wide receiver. So to me, Brock Bowers falls to you at 18. I don't know how you just don't jump on it and you just figure it out. So you've got the Los Angeles Rams on the clock at 19. What are you doing?
The Rams have a bit of a decision. They're not used to being in this position of being able to pick in the first round. And they have an aging Matt Stafford. I think that Michael Penix is not someone that needs to develop for a long time, but I think similar to Jordan Love, if he gets the opportunity to develop with especially someone like Sean McVay, that he's going to be able to be a special player. Now, they're a little bit on the clock of like, we need to win right now. They have a lot of aging players. They've got the used to be defensive player of the year back to back that he's not performing at that level. So they could end up going with Jerjon Newton from Illinois and try to get somebody like that. But I think that quarterback is extremely important in this league to have sustained success. Sean McVay is still the youngest coach in the NFL, and if he wants the rest of his career to be able to pan out, he needs someone and he needs to develop him. I think Michael Penix is that guy. He's got a strong arm. He's very accurate with the ball. His injury history won't be a problem whenever he gets to sit behind a great offensive line, which they can build over the next 2 or 3 years. And they still have more picks in this draft. We talked about how deep offensive tackle especially is in this draft.
You can't be mad at it. Can't be mad at it at all. So, I mean, I don't really have anything to add there. If you're gonna go ahead and get your quarterback of the future, might as well. Because also for me, Penix and Stafford's play styles are kind of similar. Like, they're both statues of quarterbacks. So if you do bring in Penix, like, it's not like it's going to be that much of an offensive change. And that also gives you a young quarterback to pair up with Puka Nacua for whenever Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford eventually tie it up here in the next probably year or two.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's kind of like the first shocking pick we've really had, to where it's like, whoa, okay, hey, so yeah, Penix to LA. We've got our next DB coming off the board here. I'm going to take Nate Wiggins, cornerback from Clemson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give them another corner opposite Joey Porter Jr. out there. Just shore up that defense even more. That, you know, in that AFC North division, defense there absolutely does win championships. Why not? Like, I mean, the guy, he probably could have gone top 12 and he's falling to you at number 20. Like, I don't know. To me, he's got good playmaking ability. He's physical at the point of contact. Like, just go ahead, pull the trigger. I think he'll fit in with Pittsburgh nicely.
Now, Dolphins are on the clock, and obviously they're going to take a quarterback because that's what everyone wants them to do. We're obviously joking. They're going to just take the best tackle off the board. Luckily, they get a guy from Alabama. Alabama's just known for having those offensive lines. This guy's a total mountain, J.C. Latham. I mean, it's an easy pick. I think it might have been the third easiest pick of the day after Marvin Harrison and Caleb Williams. They need tackle. That's where they're going to go.
And he's only 21 years old. Like, our Marius Mims would have been a decent argument just because of the athleticism he gives you there. But JC is more the polished product, more of, just gives you overall longevity of what he's put on tape, which that's not Mims's fault. Like, he was at Georgia, he was kind of behind some guys. So, I mean, he kind of had to bide his time, wait his turn there. But so for me, I'm fine if they go either way at this point. But, JC Latham, come on down. Just join the crew. You got Waddle, you got Tua. Just keep adding to that offense with the Bama guys. So that's fine. We're going to have another DB go here. I'm just going to pick all the DBs from this point on because the Eagles absolutely need a defensive back. It doesn't matter who it is. So for me, I'm going to go Quinyon Mitchell. Terrion Arnold would make a argument here, but I just like Quinyon's story and his tenacity. He played at a small school at Toledo, but he was one of those big fish in a small pond that just dominated, went to the Senior Bowl versus more big fish and dominated there as well. He was the guy who just scouts out of the Senior Bowl. They just kept mentioning his name, like the guy who popped off. So I don't see that really changing very much through the combine process. So we probably will end up having him go higher after the combine. Him falling to the Eagles right here, snatch him up.
Houston, the fact that people have them taking receiver and that they put receiver as their biggest need when they have Nico Collins and Tank Dell, we're not even going to mention the other guys, even though they're great, serviceable guys that put up numbers with CJ
Noah
Stroud.
Brown, John Mechie could, we're still hoping for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, in no way is wide receiver or even tight end like their biggest need.
Not at all. I think Jerzon Newton should have been drafted earlier than this. And the fact that they're getting the best interior guy that is comping insane people. Like the fact that people are saying that this guy.
You're going Jerzon over Byron Murphy?
Yes.
Okay. Little spice thrown in there.
Yeah, I like Jerzon. The comps that he's getting, he's got a little bit more size. He's versatile. I think Byron Murphy, great player. I just think that D'Amico is going to get his dude, and I think that this is the guy that can just be your stopgap of the center. They've already got a good enough... Like, they need to stop the run more than anything else. And honestly, he's the bigger body, bigger guy. I think that that'll be a big help for them.
Well, to me, Jerzon, too, I do agree there to where he is more versatile as far as moving up and down your defensive line because Byron Murphy's 6'1", 308 as of last reported. So that's just, your big straight nose tackle. And not saying, he's not athletic. I guarantee Byron Murphy would dust me in a 40 at being 308 pounds. He would absolutely dust me. But I do like that with Jerzon just being the more athletic guy, more versatile guy. So go ahead, take him going to Houston. Dallas.
Bit of a decision.
Dallas. Bit of a decision. Like, they need running back, but that's just because Tony Pollard's not projected to probably come back. They're not going to tag him again. And I doubt he re-signs. A running back's not going this early. It's just not. I don't think they're going to go interior offensive line this early as well. Linebacker Micah Parsons has been begging for a linebacker to help him out there, but again, I'm not seeing any kind of linebacker that's just really kind of screaming at me, go ahead and take him.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to take Terrion Arnold, cornerback, Alabama. I told you I was just taking DBs from this point out.
The rest
Like,
of the way.
I looked at my picks coming down and I was like, yep, here we go. So like, I mean, you're matching him up with another Alabama corner in Trevon Diggs. Yes, Deron Bland went absolutely off last year with his interceptions and mostly his pick sixes, which is he scored more touchdowns than a lot of offensive players, and that's just absolutely
including
insane.
I think Tony Pollard.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen again. So
No.
for me though, like Stephon Gilmore, he's getting a little older. You know, it's not like he's going to get any younger. Dude's already older than me. He's 35, 36 years old at this point. Still chucking it out there, but go ahead, get the next guy in to replace him, Terrion Arnold.
I think the Packers' run stop became a bit of an issue. They have a lot of talent at the cornerback position. They do say that safety is a big need for them, and I could see them going a tackle like Amarius Mims. But I think taking a guy like Byron Murphy now, it helps them to solidify that interior defensive line a bit. It's obviously a big issue for them not being able to stop the run because then you can't stop any offense. Like at this point everyone's able to run the ball at least some, and with you locking down the pass then they're just going to run all over you and they're going to control the tempo of the game, and you need to build in that position. I think it's not too early at all to take guys like this. I think that this is the perfect opportunity for them.
So who'd you go? I didn't hear your name.
Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So for me, like I love that pick for him there, especially with no like really any kind of safeties on the board I'd want to take. They are cussing the interdivision rival Minnesota Vikings for taking Cooper DeJean because I think the Packers are praying that he falls to them.
To put him as a safety, as more of that versatile.
Yeah, more of a safety, but just like I said, like I just love the versatility with him, the chess piece. If I can draft a guy who is very solid at multiple positions, yeah. Like obviously you want the guys who are elite at a few things, but if you can give me somebody that's solid at a lot of things, that's the guy that'll stick around the league. Byron Murphy coming in, stopping the run, forcing teams to pass. I love that. Give them a stopgap. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pick number 26, coming up on the board.
7 needs. 7 team needs. That's a lot.
Can you guess what I'm drafting for them?
Oh, is it a corner?
It's another corner.
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Come on down. But this one too, like more so than any of the other teams that I've taken a corner for at this point, their pass defense was atrocious last year.
Yeah.
Like fantasy wise, player prop wise for betting, like if you were going up against the Buccaneers, you had no worries. Yeah. Like they were going to get their yards. So yeah, go ahead, give me Kool-Aid McKinstry. They've got a ton of needs. So for me, when I'm with my GM hat on, I'm just taking the best player available and just checking those needs off as I go. And then I'll get to round 4 and see, okay, what do I have left?
So obviously the Cardinals already got their wide receiver, so that's not really a need for them anymore. I think that at this point, shoring up the offensive line, giving them a little bit more time to develop plays so that their guys can get out there and get open is going to be really important. You get an offensive tackle from Georgia. Insert name here. It doesn't even matter who it is. You know that they're going to play at a high level. So I think that that's just an easy decision for them. They're going to go Amarius Mims.
I like that pick a lot. Like you just give Kyler some more protection. He's got to have time to be able to throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. or else it's not going to matter. So
exactly.
Love that pick there. Buffalo Bills. I've had to pick for every AFC East team except for the Dolphins. That's cool. All right. So, Buffalo Bills, I think they go wide receiver here. Stephon Diggs, all of his grumbling, all of his griping, the fact that he just disappears in the entire second half of the season and the playoffs, he's just irrelevant
Yep.
because they throw the game completely on Josh Allen's shoulders. I think they go wide receiver for sure, especially with Gabe Davis being a free agent this offseason.
I don't think they re-sign him.
I don't think they can. Like, they're in cap hell just like the Dolphins are. They're about 40 or 50 million over the cap, so they've got to start working some contracts. So for me, you're going to give me a wide receiver. I don't think Troy Franklin or Ladd McConkey at this point. I'm going to give him a bigger body guy. I'm going to go Keon Coleman from Florida State. Dude is just elite at the catch point. Bigger body, but think, because you're a Dolphins fan, think like Devontae Adams, Kelvin Benjamin type guys. Like, he doesn't get separation, so a lot of his catches are contested catches, but more often than not, he comes down with them.
Yeah, which is...
So you're just give that target to Josh Allen to where he has a red zone threat that's not a tight end named Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid. So, yeah, I mean, as an interdivision rival, I don't necessarily want to see this, but they got to build it up. They could go offensive tackle if Mims fell here. I could see that. I could also see maybe defensive interior, but the run on DBs happened. I don't think any linebackers there right now, first round ready. So for me, just go ahead and take wide receiver. Get a playmaker.
They need somebody. It's obvious that Stephon Diggs can't do it anymore. He's about to be on his third contract in a year, and it's just he's a special player for fantasy. But in an NFL game, it really is falling all on Josh Allen, and he needs somebody else to be able to get it to. Shakir hasn't developed into a total play domination guy, and they just need a big body guy, especially in the red zone. Josh Allen can't keep running it in head first, running into brick walls, and just getting all these rushing touchdowns. He needs someone to throw the ball to. Lions are on the clock. I think that this is one of those opportunities for them to trade out so much. Like, a lot of their team needs are already taken. It's the end of the first. There's some guys that they could definitely find value in. They're not going to take any of these wide receivers. I think that one thing that they would look if they had to go right now is interior offensive line. The DBs, like you said, they've already had the big run. And then if we look at interior defensive line, these guys are projected second day guys for sure. So I'm gonna go with Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia. He's a versatile guy, 6'3", 310. He can play both positions. He's likely going to be a center in the NFL, but I think that that's something for... We know what the Lions want to do. They want to build the trenches. And I think this is an opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And the Lions are super hard to pick for, too, because for them, it's just a lot of, like, who is their type of guys. And, like, we're not going to know that because we're not in the building with them when they're interviewing these guys.
Exactly.
And going through on how they felt, that interview went. So they're one of the harder teams to pick for. Can't be mad. Like you said, they're going to build the trenches. They want to lean on that running game, that play action pass game. And you've got Ben Johnson coming back for another year. So they're just going to continue to improve on that. I like it. Baltimore. Pick number 30. They're one of those teams, too, to where they don't really have too many needs. But for me, I think one need is, especially because with the injuries they've had at this position the last few years, is DB. And so for me, I'm going to go Enos Rakestraw Jr., cornerback out of Missouri. Just go ahead and give him another DB. I could go wide receiver here with Troy Franklin.
A lot of people have him going wide receiver, especially a big body guy like Troy Franklin.
Well, yeah, and Troy Franklin, he gives you that 6'3", a little more slender at 187, and he's a speedster. So I could go wide receiver. I'm just not going wide receiver.
Yeah, they still have... They
Well,
still have Odell.
how
They
much do
have
they really
playmakers.
lean on their wide receivers though? Like that's my thing.
And
Like
with Mark
Isaiah
Andrews,
Likely was
yes.
more of a productive guy than any wide receiver not named Zay Flowers last season,
Yep.
and he only played half the year. Like
And
so, that's
Mark
my thing.
Andrews' injury was massive. He's not going to get injured like that again this year. They're going to be able to have him for the whole year, and that's
Yeah, as long as somebody doesn't hip tackle him again like they did.
yeah,
As soon as I saw it happen, I was like, "Yep, he's done."
yeah. It was unfortunate. San Fran's on the clock, and they have very, very, very few needs. Offensive line is a need for them, and I think that that's a easy decision. If there were some corners still left that were first round capable, I think they would go them. But like Kamari Lassiter from Georgia is projected more as like a mid second round guy. I think that taking between Troy Fontenot and Graham Barton. Troy Fontenot already played tackle in college. Graham Barton was a
I
center.
believe he was a center. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that they go with the safer position. We know that Trent Williams is only getting older by the day, just like the rest of us, and he also missed a lot of his career because of the cancer scare that he had. So you don't know that you're going to have him forever. I think going Troy Fontenot is a safe pick at 31.
Not mad at it, and looking at it too, like this is one of my favorite parts of the draft as well. Is these guys that are gonna fall into the second round, like Graham Barton, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Nubin, safety from Minnesota, which I think he could end up going first round, like for the Packers if they
Yeah.
went Tyler Nubin over Byron Murphy. I mean, he's a Minnesota guy. He's right up there in the north. He knows what that life's like. So little guys like that, like I love kind of seeing who's available day two. Chiefs, for me, this pick's really easy. Troy Franklin, wide receiver, Oregon.
Yep.
Give him a big body guy, not necessarily big body, but a tall guy who can stretch the defense. Give him somebody opposite Rashee Rice. I think they take a wide receiver almost guaranteed because
I mean, there's no team that needs wide receiver more than the
which
Kansas
is
City
nuts to
Chiefs.
say of a Super Bowl winning team. Is like,
Yep.
oh, they need wide receiver more than anyone.
Yeah, it's the disappointment in the guys last year, like Kadarius Toney and Mercole Hardman had that catch, but like the to win the Super Bowl, you have one catch, and now you're supposed to be a production guy. Like it's not necessarily enough. I think that they need a receiver. They already have a Rashee Rice, who's like the prototypical 6'1", 6'2". So getting a guy at 6'3", a bit of a speedster, I think that he could potentially go earlier in the draft after the combine. But without the combine, with what we know right now, I think this is a perfect place for him.
I think we nailed it. I think we just went 32 of 32 on all the first round picks, barring any trades. I think we nailed it.
Yeah, lock it in if you guys are betting on the draft, and there you go. That's the winner right now.
You don't even have to watch the draft. Just go back to this video, and here it is. Like, this is what we're giving you.
Well, that was a great draft video. We were able to do it in record time. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. We are the Pro Football Pod, and we'll see you again on the next one. Peace.
Love you guys. Peace.